Well, it's exciting to return to this after all this time. The matrix. I mean, well, it's kind of like a grid and the buttons, you know. Anyway, this is like a blank canvas for making MIDI applications. And I've been using this Novation Launchpad Pro for many years now to make custom firmware, especially for Digitakt. And now, as you can see here, I'm using Syntakt. It still works with Digitakt just fine. I just wanted to show off that it's working well with this too. And so let's start. Let's fire it up. All right. Now the S makes sense because of Syntakt. Watch some of the earlier videos for all the functionality of this. It all still applies with Syntakt. It's really inspired me working with this to maybe make a new version of this that does a little bit more towards Syntakt. So there's going to be some more buttons, and this area especially is going to be tuned to do things that will sound really great on Syntakt. That would be on the next version. But this version is super exciting because I've developed some of the existing features a lot farther and given you more performance control. Didn't do as much with this, but I definitely improved this one, which is called live fills, or it's like rollers. And it's kind of like these Live-ReTrigs, but better, way better. It's going to be awesome. So watch what happens here. So we'll just play a little beat here. All right, so what this is, some triplets. Yeah, that's 16th notes, and this is 32nd notes, and goes all the way to 64, which is crazy. All right, so that's not new, but I want to bring up this important addition. It's now pressure sensitive. So the velocity. This was not done before. This is now, the harder you press it, the louder it gets, and that can have different effects. Syntakt, you can map velocity to even more things just than the velocity. So we can do some cool things with that. Nice. You've got a range. So you can play everyone. So this is nice, but usually you're going to have one at a time, or you're going to switch. Super cool, but you can do them all right together. It's awesome. It'll be so fun. Okay, and then the next area of expansion that I want to get to is this area. So it looks blank. It is totally full of possibilities here. This is the random sequencer, so it's very exciting. Before I get into this, just wanted to bring up that if you hold this down, there is a whole arpeggiator in here. So this is an older feature. I haven't really touched that much since, way back, but this has all these features. You turn it on, all these different ways to get different arpeggio. This is the speed, and this is the type, like up, down, and so on and so forth. So don't forget about that. A lot of people have been saying, oh, if the Syntakt only had an arpeggiator, it would be so awesome. Well, now you've got it. You just need a Launchpad Pro Mark 1 and my custom firmware. As a patron, you can get this, and there's a lot of other benefits. The longer you stay as a patron, the more you get to influence the development of this. So you can just stop on by, be a patron for 1 month, and you can get the firmware, all the versions of this. Not only this, there's Open Launch, which is a different track features that's less about Elektron type ones, and does more of the other things, lots of other things. And this one, but I've been working with this one the longest and have quite a bit of features here. Make sure so what is this? Okay, so we have this feature. In the past, this existed. So it's a random sequencer. So this button, the first column clears them. The second one has random quarter notes. Not the best really, but it can get you started. And then if you hold shift, you can add them as as you want. So these are eighth notes, and it does each of these rows here is 16th notes. It's just one bar of 16th notes, so you can do all sorts of things with that. It's temporary. This isn't stored in any memory, but if you like something you did, you could record it into the sequencer on this. So that's awesome. So okay, so second step, random eighth notes. Very cool. And then random 16th notes. Now there's color coding here, as you noticed. So the yellow just means, you know, it's right on the eighth note or quarter note. But as you get to this, you know, blue means it's on the second half of the eighth note. So orangish yellow means that there's two notes in this area. So on the first eighth note, and then another 16th note after that, blah blah. Anyway, but here's the new feature. That's well, there's two new features. So one of them is same thing as this, random 16th notes, but it randomizes the pitch too. That is, listen, I mean, that was just my first try on that, and it's already generating that really cool stuff. So look, the sequencer on this is not playing, but you can play the sequence mixed in with the random stuff. So let's try that. But it's based on the clock, so if you stop this, and it'll use the clock from Syntakt. Now you can see there's two cables here and two cables here, so you have to have kind of a MIDI loop. It's pretty funky. You have to have MIDI in going to the out and MIDI out going to the in here. So you got to get that right, and then in the MIDI settings you got to make sure you do it right, because you can really create an infinite loop here. So you want to have clock receive off but clock send on, and the other things don't matter so much. Yeah, not on here, but on this, yeah, these settings, these are pretty standard. You have to have receive notes and receive CC. That's important. And the channels, I have it just, this is based on the default values that would be on Syntakt from the factory. So you don't have to change anything here, but if you have changed things in here due to your own needs on your bigger setup, then you might have to adjust some of the settings on this. And some of my other videos go into that. Also, I have a web page that talks about how to set the channels. Okay, so that was a little offshoot from what I was planning to do, but it's important that you know how to set that up, and that would be how to do it. Okay, so let's get a little going here. Yeah, maybe I don't want random pitch on it, and it's truly random. There's no scales or anything, so don't try to make it be a melodic random sequencer that just pulls out all sorts of melodies. It's mainly for rhythm and stuff, so that's kind of cool. A little cool, but a little too goofy. That's nice, but you can, so hold shift, and I'm just gonna put, so I made shift and buttons kind of like the alternate behavior, because I want the main thing to be I'm using this to create random generative beats and things like that. So that's why what you would normally have is the normal operation to like just enter notes is the shift operation. So I think that's fun. That's cool. Yeah, so that's random. It's not going to be melodic, but that'd be cool. All right, and I want to add all the other layers for some fun here, but I want to show you the next feature that I built, which is super important. Okay, so these buttons along the end here, if you press them, it moves everything down a 16th note, so your generative thing can get moved around. If you like, oh, if I only could move that little randomly generated thing a little bit. Yeah, so you just roll those things around, they keep going around, so all the notes at the end come back at the beginning, you don't lose anything. Color code is a little hard to understand, but we don't have 16 buttons here. We've got 8 on each column, so that's how we roll. There's the chord machine, yeah. Alright, that's cool. So, kind of funky. That's a minor chord, just kind of really random. But here's a fun thing to do with, like, say, your hi-hats. There you go. Live play with parameters while it's doing its thing. It's really wild, kind of atonal music. It sounds like you're playing in using some really advanced microtonal system, but it's not. You know, you generated something and it just got a cool vibe. There's that PC Carbon. People are loving that. I know it. Look, I'm moving that. All right. And then kill it. So those two things alone kind of finalize the random sequencer. You know, there's still 3 more buttons, but I think this is the range of what I had intended when I started the random sequencer idea. Between the random sequencer and then this, the rollers or the live fills, whatever you want to call it, it's really developed into a real performance tool. Hope you like that. Please give this a like and join up on Patreon. When you do stay longer, it's ability for us to have more conversations, and you can help influence the direction of the next step. So thank you very much for your support. And back to this area here still works really well with Syntakt and Digitakt, and it'll work with Digitone too, but maybe you don't need all these buttons. So these are just velocity sensitive buttons for each, the first 8 tracks. Now, these don't do anything, and so the idea is these buttons will line up to these ones on the next version. That'll be a Super Syntakt version of Digipad. So that'll be cool. And then these ones still are hard-coded to some things that work best with Digitakt. So you could experiment with using them, but they're not particularly tuned to this yet. And then that'll be another area. Well, I will really tweak them next time, I think. Hey, just a little punch-in added note here, since I was focusing so much on Syntakt. That's not the limit to be Elektron type boxes. There are a lot of other modes here, and you can connect this right up to your keyboards or modules. Really good. This one right here takes it to just your kind of chromatic keyboard layout. So I just wanted to, I've showed this a bunch before, but since I think a lot of new people would maybe see this video, I just wanted to talk about all these other modes of operation here. Got the blues mode, and this gem, and of course scale ARP, one of the original favorites of mine. Just wanted to bring up one other thing, is like one of the reasons why this is kind of like not something I update all the time anymore is because, you know, this is the older version of Launchpad Pro, and the newer Launchpad Pro doesn't support the custom firmware. And kind of moved on a little bit, but I thought about some ways that this could live on. We could make a separate device that all the launch pads could plug into. You know, they could plug in via USB, and we could do this sort of thing for any launch pad because they do have programmability. It's like a more basic programmability via kind of special MIDI messages. And so may tackle that next if there's enough interest. So let me know in the comments or on Patreon if there's some interest in getting this to the other launch pads. But you know, it wouldn't be through firmware that would go right onto it. It would be a separate device that would help to be the brains of those. Anyway, that's an option as a path forward. Not totally committed to that yet, but just we'll see how it goes and see if there's an interest there. So thanks very much. Please give this a like and subscribe to the channel so you can hear more about innovative music things that we'll be developing next. Thanks.